Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
Welcome to this week's National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. Today we have another good show with our guest from the Civil Rights Commission. We have our host here, Mr. Lee Martin, and we have a lot of things to talk about and a lot of great information to share today. And Lee, I know that we're going to talk about the Newsline service, and I guess you want to start off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about our Newsline service. It is a free service. It's an audio information service that allows people that are print challenged, those that are blind, visually impaired, those that are deaf-blind, those citizens that have certain forms of dyslexia, individuals that have problems turning pages. We have several devices out here that individuals can use. You can utilize your landline phone. You can use your iPhone, digital talking player that's free from the National Library of Congress, which you can obtain through the Talking Book and Braille Library. We also have a device called the Victor Reader String. There's a number of methods, even your computer, where individuals can access this free service. One of the latest devices that we have on the market right now is the Amazon Alexa and Dot that you can utilize to access this free service. I really enjoy that Amazon. How about yourself?
I do. I use it all the time.
All you got to do is tell. I keep calling her a lady, so she won't be speaking every time you say Alexa. She just pops up and starts talking. But we call her a lady. But you can just, with this particular device, you just say, Alexa, ask National Federation to read, and she'll ask you what would you like for it to read, and it's like the Indianapolis Star, the Indianapolis Business Journal, the Wall Street, the China Daily, the Moscow. We have publications all over the world that individuals can access. And by the way, seniors love to use this service. I'm finding more now that seniors are, gravitating more to the iPhone and getting away from the landline. And they're using it in large numbers now to access this free service. So just right there at your fingertips or right at your voice, you can give commands to read publications. And one of the biggest articles or sections of the newspaper that's read is the obituaries, believe it or not. And I had one senior say to me he loves having access because he transplanted to Indiana from Tennessee, and that he can read the newspapers and he can read the obituaries and make sure that he's not in there. So we have really enjoyed this service and the offering that it has to our Indiana citizens. So pay attention to our commercials and learn more about how to contact us. And we will be right back with our guests from the Indiana Civil Rights Commission. This is a follow-up show, and stay tuned.
I'm Danny Wayne Beamer, Program Manager of the Elder Blind Program at the Will Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I introduced the NFB Newsline to seniors in 13 southwestern counties in Indiana. I also utilize the NFB Newsline for my radio station public affairs shows. The NFB Newsline. Experience it today.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
We want to welcome you back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline show. And today we have our guest with us today. And Florence, would you introduce our guest, please?
I certainly will. It's my pleasure to welcome back our guest from last week, Ms. Lisa Welch and Mr. Greg Wilson from the Civil Rights Commission. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having us back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And would you both share with us your positions with the Indiana Civil Rights Commission?
I'm the Executive Director for Indiana Civil Rights Commission.
And I'm the Deputy Director of External Affairs for the Indiana Civil Rights Commission.
Okay, so what is the purpose of the Indiana Civil Rights Commission?
Well, our job, our role is to eradicate discrimination. And our job is if someone feels like they're being discriminated here, who lives in Indiana or they're passing through, they can file a complaint in our office, which is free. And we'll do an investigation to see what has happened.
So it doesn't matter, any ethnicity or there's no restrictions on who can apply, who can do that?
Anybody can file a complaint.
Anybody can file a complaint.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we'll evaluate that complaint and work with the complainant. We always tell people if you feel like or you think something's happened and you think it was discrimination, report it and we'll work with you. So we never want people to think, I don't know what that was, I don't know what happened, it just doesn't feel right. Mm-hmm. And so I just think I was treated differently.
And that would be like from housing to employment, maybe about even being stopped by a police officer?
We don't.
Would they work with that or not?
No, not
in
that
form of discrimination?
Yeah, some things are different. We always ask people to come and we can refer you to where you need to go if you don't know. But whether it's credit, public spaces, whether it's housing, education, and employment.
Those are our areas
yes.
of enforcement. So
yes.
that's sort of our jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. If you feel that you have experienced discrimination in any of those areas of your life
yes.
because you are a member of a protected class, that's
yes.
when you need to call us, come into our office, or go to our website to file a complaint. And what you can expect after that is that you will be assigned to an investigator who will help understand the details of your case and process that and ultimately determine a finding.
Yeah. So, and one of the things we did to make it easier for people to file a complaint, we do what we call remote intake. So instead of you having to come to our office, we monthly are somewhere in the community. We want to be some place that is accessible. Mm-hmm. And we want to make it easy. You don't have to worry about parking, bus, whatever your needs are, it has to be accessible and friendly to everybody who needs to come in there. So usually it's a library or community center, just anywhere. We will put a remote intake, and you can always find it on our website.
Okay, so for individuals that maybe don't have access to a website, how would they know where to go?
Well, they can always call our office at area code 317-232-2600, and they can either file a complaint or they can ask for information about our remote intake series. We do have that information on our website, but if they don't have access to the computer, they can always give us a call and we can provide that information to them. Yeah. We're really excited about the remote intake series. It goes from February through October. 1 week every month. We're alternating between area community centers, as Greg said, and public libraries. So we're there not just to take remote complaints, although we are prepared to do that in a discrete setting if that's something that anyone would need to come in and do. But we're also there just to answer general questions, because a big part of our mission is also education and making sure everyone understands not only what their rights are, but what discrimination may look like in different scenarios, because Hoosiers aren't always aware of what that might look like in an education setting or in a setting where you're trying to obtain credit. So we help people understand the signs of discrimination and give them resources for what to do if they think they've experienced it.
Okay, now where are you located?
Our offices are in the Indiana Government Center North building. So we're at 100 Senate Avenue, in Indianapolis.
Okay.
We're on the 3rd floor, which is room 300.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when was the Civil Rights Commission established?
Well, we were established in 1961, but originally the commission was called the Indiana Fair Employment Practices Commission. And what they were able to do is they were able to receive and investigate complaints of employment discrimination only, but they didn't have any enforcement authority. So in 1963, the commission was renamed the Indiana Civil Rights Commission, and that became more the form that you're used to today. So it was given enforcement authority over the complaints that they would take in. And then a few years later, in 1965, the Federal Fair Housing Act was passed, and so housing was added to our areas of enforcement. As we've talked about before, employment and housing are the areas of enforcement that do seem to generate most of the complaints of discrimination. However, in addition to that, we also have jurisdiction over discrimination, again, in education, public accommodation, and credit.
Okay, now you mentioned that as far as with housing, you said that the people that are disabled, actually, you receive more complaints?
Yes, we do.
Now, with that, can you give me about an average of how many complaints you may get per year or so? Or is
Well, we normally, I probably don't have that data with me, but we post it on our website. We do monthly reports. We track it. So we do track all that information.
So then would you be considered, let's say, the mouthpiece for the people who make the complaints, or do you have a liaison or a person there who basically works along with the complaint, the person filing the complaint, and the agency that the complaint is filed against?
Yeah, we have our intake department. So that's the first person they normally come in contact with. And the intake person will kind of evaluate the claim. They'll talk to you, they'll listen, they'll make sure it's written up correctly. And then from the intake, it goes into our investigation. When it goes to our investigation, for them to look at it and make an assessment why it's an investigation, there's also, we have an ADR department, so mediation can also be started even right then, where they can try to see if they can get the complainant and respondent to come together and maybe mediate it, which we've been very successful with mediation lately. That has been a real strong focus of ours since I've been there as the executive director, is can we get some of these things mediated and get the problem solved? Sometimes it's monetary, and sometimes it's just some changes that a person wants.
So again, you said it is free then, so there's never a charge for a person filing a complaint?
No.
And is there a timeline for filing a complaint?
180 days.
180 days from the date of the incident, you have to file a complaint, with the exception of housing complaints. In those cases, you have a year from the date of the incident to file a complaint.
But what we ask people to do is file it as soon as you feel something's happened. A reason for that is, I mean, you want your witnesses and you want all the documentation that you can. If you wait to a year or you wait longer, people leave, or you can't find maybe that witness anymore or the documentation or information. So I suggest is that if you feel something's going on, document everything that you can, put together a list of people that maybe saw it happen. If it's pictures or a thing, take the picture of the incident or maybe the obstruction, whatever it is. Get as much information as you can. when you're trying to file that complaint. That's very helpful in the investigation.
So documentation and documentation.
Documentation.
Absolutely.
Name, who, when, what, where, right?
Okay.
Those things are very important. And then a lot of times we're filing, again, we talked once before, you know, people get nervous and sometimes people don't want people to know. It's confidential. When you come in the office, it's confidential. Okay? We're going to talk you through it until we have to send the respondent the information, but it's confidential. No one will know that you came in. If you, in the middle of you decide, after you've done the intake and you change your mind, we're not going to send anything out. It's not going to be a problem.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short pause before we have a problem. And we'll be right back with the Indiana Civil Rights Commission.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline.
As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Welcome back to our show, and we're going right back to our guests here, Ms. Lisa and Mr. Greg from the Civil Rights Commission. And tell me a little bit, what else is going on with the Civil Rights Commission this time?
Well, we're going to have it's the 46th annual Civil Rights Conference. It's going to be in June, and we'll be having more information out, but it's a gathering of all the civil rights organizations around the state, all of our partners, and we're going to be hosting it here in Indianapolis, which is going to be a great thing. And I'll let Lisa kind of add to that.
The conference is going to be from June 17th through the 20th at the City Center Sheraton downtown. And like Greg said, we'll be working with our partners in the consortium of state and local human rights agencies to put on a conference that will provide several different tracks for anyone interested in civil rights and anyone whose work sort of keeps them in the orbit of civil rights. We'll be talking about law and policy updates. We will be providing investigator training for those like us in these other agencies that investigate those complaints of discrimination. We're going to be talking about civil rights advocacy, and another track is going to be diversity and inclusion, because a lot of businesses and organizations in Indiana are making it a top priority to make sure that they have programs and processes in place to foster as much diversity and inclusion as possible, to, of course, broaden their talent pool, and because it's the right thing to do. So we have a really exciting conference that's going to be dialing into those needs in Indiana.
I know we have some legislation in Indiana on the hate crimes bill. How do you guys participate with that, with the Civil Rights Commission?
We don't. That's a legislative issue. Our statutes guide the laws that we enforce. So,
what we deal with are civil matters, and a lot of times hate crimes bills and the legislation surrounding that is dealing with criminal matters. So it's out of our jurisdiction, yet it's still sort of in our mission ecosystem. So of course it's something that we monitor with interest.
Now this convention, this upcoming convention, you mentioned that you have other people working along with you. Now is it any portion of it open to the public as well?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, everyone is welcome to attend. One of our tracks is primarily focused on our partner agencies across the state of Indiana and those investigators there. But we are definitely developing programming so that we have something for everyone. So anyone who's interested in civil rights, who works in civil rights at all, healthcare professionals, educators, human rights specialists, human resources specialists, people in other grassroots nonprofit organizations will definitely have valuable information for everyone.
And we'll also be having an awards dinner where we'll be giving out awards for those that support and believe in diversity and inclusion. And again, I just want to make sure I congratulate you too on receiving the Dr. King Freedom Award at the Dr. King celebration in January.
Well, I appreciate that.
Those awards are very important because, again, we want to celebrate those, again, who step out, who make a difference, because that's what it's about, service and sacrifice. Because it is a service and a sacrifice when you know others have a need and you push yourself aside and you come out in support of making a difference and making sure that people are recognized, that people are not forgotten. So I want to thank you for that so much.
Thank you guys for that as well. That's a lot goes into that. Indiana Civil Rights Commission, the Indiana Black Expo, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, and the state of Indiana. And also, I would be remiss if I wouldn't say the works that the National Federation of the Blind and the programs that we have out there, and by me being in a position to spearhead one of those programs that kind of leads to those understandings for such an award. Appreciate that.
Well, that's what I always say. For those who have the platform, if we don't speak up for others, then we're doing a disservice to them and ourselves.
And it brings to mind another thing that Martin Luther King had said. He said, our service to others is the rent we pay while living here on earth.
That's right.
And I totally believe that.
Oh, it is. Listen, one thing I'll say about the team in Indiana Civil Rights Commission, they all have a passion for being there.
Yes.
It's a tough job sometimes because you got to remember, people have had something, and I always tell people this, these are people's lives. These are not cases. These are people's lives that have been affected or impacted in some way. And so it's so important that we understand that. Customer service is so important because when people call you and when something traumatic has happened to you, there's a lot of emotion involved, right? There's a lot of emotion. And so when they get these calls, you're sharing in people's emotion. And so you also have to help people be able to explain what happened. Sometimes when you're emotional, you're all over the place with that. And so we work with them. We listen to the people who call in, and we understand that something's happened, and how can we as an agency help you? So.
Greg makes a really great point there. I think that maybe sometimes one of the obstacles to giving us a call when people should is that they think that there's going to be a very cold, slow-moving government agency on the other end of that phone. And it's so important that you brought up the point that we are all people. We are all humans getting up every day to do this work, and we are passionate about it. We're extremely mission-driven, and we never forget that we are talking about someone's life and something that has had a potentially devastating impact in their life, and we're prepared to manage that. And yes, we do have to go through certain processes, and we have to follow statute, and we have to get things done the right way. But we never forget at the end of the day that we're people dealing with other people. And all we want to do is, at the end of the day, say that we've improved lives.
Wow. It is so consoling to know that we have individuals such as yourselves working for us. Thank you
Yeah,
for what you do.
We work for you, definitely. I always said that since I worked in government. I've always said that I work for you.
Yep.
When I used to work for Mayor Ballard, and one thing he used to always say before our staff meetings, he always used to say, we work for the people of Indianapolis. Remember that, everybody.
Exactly.
And I tell them the same thing. We work for the people of Indiana and those who come through here, because if you come through and you've been mistreated or discriminated against, we work for you too. And so we're here to serve. Service and sacrifice, that's my famous saying, service and sacrifice.
Service and sacrifice. So we're going to take a pause and come back with the conclusion of our show with the Indiana Civil Rights Commission, Greg and Lisa, and we'll be right back.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
We want to welcome you back, and this has been one great show, and there's so much information that we haven't covered, but there's a lot that we have covered. And to our guests, Greg and Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And just give us some parting words to our community and listeners.
If you feel like something has happened, you just don't know, please call us.
Yeah, just definitely call us. You can reach us at area code 317-232-2600, or you can go on our website, which is www.in.gov/ICRC. We will be there and we will help.
And thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And God bless you and your works that you do. We're looking forward to June. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.